18, 17.
17, 18 years. So it's an exciting opportunity for us to get out and for them to come here and kind of shorten the world of rugby. So you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Nice to meet you all. My name is Devon. I'm North of Devon, Barnstable, which is the North Coast. Devon is a wonderful county down the southwest. Down south of County Plymouth, where the Pilgrim Child left the office and steps down there. I've been playing rugby for about 20 years, and my job had a family and started refereeing, and I've been doing that with my kids' team, adults for the last 4 or 5 years. And I referee level 8 in the UK, get level 7, 8, and 9 games. But again, really enjoying it. Really welcoming to India. It's fun to be here. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, so if you stand here.
Steve Bartlett.
Like
Nick, I was actually born in Manchester, but in Plymouth as well. So again, fathers colonising this fine land and all. I spend most of my time dealing with Cornish farmers who sound like pirates. Yeah, you sound that, but a lot of them do sound like pirates. I've been playing rugby for probably about 20 years. Started as a winger and moved to the centre, and then I stopped playing because someone convinced me that playing rugby league was a good idea. And when you watch rugby league, you realise it's not a good idea. I ref at level 8, so I also do 7, 8, and 9, occasionally 10 if nothing else is happening. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it here. The games are fun. Joe's been a brilliant host for every time. There is. Very good host. And yeah, very, very much looking forward to it. Nice. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Are there any other new referees here? I know for me, I don't always recognize everybody's face, but then again, I haven't been at all the meetings in person. So, yeah. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, I'm new. My name's Jamie McGregor. I just started, I'm from Australia, although I did live for a year in Exeter when I was 3 years old. I'm not sure what that counts, but I'll claim to be a different person. So, I'm from Australia, from Sydney. I've just started work with USA Rugby in the role of the Senior Director of Training and Education. And I believe that role will have all the issues, all things refereeing will come under that role. So it plugs a bit of a vacuum that's been there for a little while, I believe. And I've been just the last 15 years. I've worked in referee education in Australia. Last 5 or so as the manager of match officials for Australian rugby referees. So time for something new, something different. And as I've been here 3 weeks, I have discovered that refereeing in the United States is something new and something different. So I haven't been, I'm not disappointed then. There seems to be a lot to do and a lot of opportunity as well. So very happy to have a chat with any of you if you want to chew my ear off at some point around what's going on in match officiating in the US. And well, I won't promise too much too soon. We'll do what we can to try and do some things to improve the life of the referee here. So meanwhile, I did referee obviously as well, up to a reasonable level in Australia. Make Super Rugby, but that's life. And unfortunately, my back's a bit stuffed at the moment, which is why I had to stop refereeing for a while. So I do a lot of ref coaching, and given I'm going to be here in Lafayette, or wherever it is, for the time being, I'll have to do some ref coaching and see some rugby here in Denver. So that is my story. So
great. Welcome.
Cheers.
All right. With that, Mark Huff, have we heard anything on video from Gilligan yet?
We have not.
Okay. Cool.
He was promised to do a video. He didn't get it. So he was going to give an update on Aspen.
Yeah.
So
Do we, how many in here are not going to Aspen? Okay. For those who are going to Aspen, did you get the email so far? All right. Are there any questions or concerns with the logistics of Aspen, when you're supposed to show up, where you're staying, anything like that? So it will be announced, it's usually an hour before or after the last game. So so it could vary, but what time's sunset?
8, 7:30.
7, so good chance that the meeting will be 7:30 or 8, you know? It's kind of a good general way of looking at it. Okay, yeah. Yes, I have noticed a WhatsApp notification come through. So if you all have WhatsApp, that's a great way to communicate. If you don't, I recommend you download it. It's not a requirement, but it's an easy way for us all to communicate simply and share schedules, stuff like that, especially for guests and others who don't necessarily have, you know, working cell phone data up there, but they can connect to the Wi-Fi and still have messages.
The Ruggerfest website is up. It's got the teams, games, as far as they know.
Mm-hmm.
So people can check that. Get there and just do what we're talking.
Right. Yeah. And as we know, it's typically these schedules stay the same in Aspen, or yeah, have a tendency to change frequently.
We have 4:30 on Wednesday.
Don't know. I'm not sure. I think so, though. No, I don't.
That's usually like a 9 o'clock. It's usually like the latest possible. At 9, and then everything's like an hour after the last kickoff. Typically, yeah. Wednesday is always like the latest possible 9. And then after that, usually it's an hour after last full time.
We'll make sure whoever's running the Wednesday show will send out a WhatsApp notification and an email, so that way everybody knows what's going on there. Is there anything else with Aspen we need to consider? Joe?
We bringing to society, bringing food.
I think what we usually have is to be expected. So sandwich material and, you know, light refreshments, stuff like that. Gilligan had mentioned there's that kind of cafe 3:30 thing. So he'll make dinner every night. It's just, you know, Aspen can be quite expensive with your budget if you don't want to, you know, eat pizza or whatever every night. So, so it's a good way to kind of cut down on the cost and group share on some food. Sorry, one sec. Joe, go ahead. What was your question?
Continue some of the outstanding conditions
So like mascots and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. So as long as I'm chairman, I think a mascot is a fun way of building camaraderie. For those of you who don't know, it's expected that you have a mascot on Ruggerfest at all times. What I don't necessarily condone of is the requirements of like, you know, it used to be a tradition where if you don't have it, you have to drink or buy a round or something like that. So maybe there's a fun alternative that we can think of, but you know, amongst beep, yeah, burpees, beep tests, something like that. I think we all just need to be conscious of we're trying to steer away from the idea of hazing, right? So that can be, you know, one person's idea of hazing and another could be different things. So let's all just be, you know, conscious of that. It is also tradition where we bring up a case of beer for the apartment, and it's kind of a communal place, again, to cut down costs and be able to spend some time with each other. So if you're planning on drinking beer in the main apartment, it would be so. Yeah. We used to have it where we'd have kind of a chili cook-off, you know. I mean, chili doesn't always agree with everybody, but it is nice, you know, a little ham sandwich. Way to go throughout the day. My wife may beg to differ. Yeah, so Saturday night is our banquet, if you will. So you know, normally a slight bit higher number ones, but you know, if you want to check out a little bit, a nice touch every now and then. So, but you know, comfortable, and just know it's a great way to celebrate as a society up there.
Everyone staying the same place this year?
Yes. All at the chalet. Yep.
Yeah, much better breakfast than you've ever had.
Yeah, you know, it seems like we've ironed that out. We've had some challenges over the last few years, but yeah, for sure. And that goes without saying. I mean, we go up there, and regardless of how long the drive was, how you know frustrated you are after the commute, there's some logistical issues and your room's taken or something. Come to me. Come to Gilligan, or Mark Huff. And those are the only people that should be talking to the chalet as far as like you know, complaints. Now, if you need towels for your room or you know any additional you know amenities, that's something different. But if there's an issue with your room, let us talk to the chalet. And I think that's where kind of things have gone poorly in the past. Is there was a huge you know miscommunication, big old Charlie Foxtrot, if you will, and it wasn't really handled that well by us. It wasn't handled that well by the chalet, and things didn't end on the right foot. So let's just go up there and recognize that we're very, you know, thankful to have this place as our home for Ruggerfest every year. And if we want to keep that you know, long-standing relationship, let's really be conscious of that, treating them with a lot of respect. Cool. Any other questions on Ruggerfest? Yeah, so the easiest way will be through the WhatsApp group, and so if you don't have that app, yeah, so just question. I just got an invite to it, but we'll go through and make sure everybody gets an invite. So you should see a notification come up. If you don't, my phone number's on the website. Just send me a text or give me a call and make sure you get it. There you go. Nice. Yeah. Jim's got it figured out. I think most people can. I don't think anybody has any excuse. He's sneaky savvy on that. Cool. So I think I'm muted.
Do you want to present and I'll just do all the others?
Who's? On what, kid out there?
No, like whatever. I mean, I can do that
Yeah.
if you want.
Well, yeah.
Just
With
switch off
that,
cameras.
we'll go. Nelson has some updates on our kit. Thank you, Mark, and thanks, Joe, for also his help in this as well. I want to make sure he's not gone on scene as.
Yeah, so I have. I know we have kind of two shops right now currently for kit. We have World Rugby Shop, which has a general plethora of like stock kit that's not very custom, and Rugby Athletic, which has very little stock and that's all custom. I'm in the process of transitioning only to Rugby Athletic and having all custom kit. I know most everyone should have the green and yellow reversible. We have like maybe 2 double XLs left over that, but I'm working on we're working on getting a sponsor, and that looks like it's come through. So as soon as I get the mock-ups of the new logo work to Rugby Athletic, we'll have a few of the green and yellow reversibles, and then we will gonna go with a pink and blue blue reversible, same design, and this will have our new logos on it and our new sponsors on it. So this will be in the store coming soon, and eventually, like if we go to Rugby Athletic now, we have a shop. It's very minimal, and here's what we have now. Eventually, I wanted to get. Eventually, I want to be able to build it up with custom stuff over the years, and maybe like every 6 months, kind of release a new jersey or have more custom stuff in it, like what they're doing for Texas. This is our goal here, to kind of have a fuller store. It doesn't have all the 60 things that World Rugby Shop does, but I don't know that we need a onesie with Rocky Mountain or a fat head with Rocky Mountain thing on it. I know we want camping chairs in there, but we're trying to effort that. So ideally, we all look like a team. We're all wearing the same gear roughly, and we'll be able to kind of have just one-stop shopping through Rugby Athletic. And again, I'm hopefully in a few weeks or months, I'll have this up and running. What I will need to do is create like basically a Google group where you can go and start putting in your sizes of what you wear. That way I know how many to order. Because again, since it is all custom, I can't just say, put it up there. I need to order 3 XXLs, 42 mediums, and whatnot. And again, that way we get the jerseys that fit you properly, right? So that's kind of what's going on with the kit update.
If you should ask, are we going to have shirts again for all the?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Yeah.
they're at the memorial to Jerry. Some Hawaiian shirt, I think maybe. Maybe that was a secret.
No.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
It's
It should, I think they're going to be pretty cool. But
yeah. So for those of you who don't know, there was one of the was it the president of Aspen? He was killed in a snowmobile accident this summer in June, and so there would be a pretty sad Aspen. He was a really good guy, really helped out. So that's kind of why we're also a little behind the ball on that, because we were dealing with him, all things, and then someone had to pick up the mantle and run with it. And again, we're always a little late on those things. So yeah, Jerome Hayden was his name. Stephen?
Sure. Says ref up Q&A. A couple things I want to touch on in addition to that. So we had a level 1 course up in northern Colorado 2 weekends ago, and had 11 people there, almost all college students. So that was cool to see. One of the people that was there has already been out and was at the high school girls tournament on Monday. And hopefully we'll get some more of those people involved. They're kind of, in that place where they're still playing, wanted to learn the laws, maybe interested in refereeing. So hopefully they had a fun time and may become referees at some point. There's talk of another level 1 in Colorado Springs early next year. So just kind of keep that in the back of your heads for all of the people that are running up to you after games saying that they want to become referees because it's so awesome. Another piece on recruitment, I sent out an email that hopefully everybody got today about Rugby World Cup matches. So obviously, there's probably no place in the world where the timing is worse than Denver, Colorado. But some of those are not so terrible. Like there's a USA match at 11 p.m., which is maybe manageable. And then the final is at 3 a.m. But I think, I don't know. I think that's like a fun one to maybe go to. So, yeah, I don't know. If you're interested in going to some of the games, let me know. I will, I'll definitely go to the final. I don't know about the rest of them. The Colfax Sports and Brew at Colfax and Josephine has said they are going to be open to show matches. Now, I don't know if Tonga is playing Namibia, if they're going to be open for that one, but probably New Zealand, South Africa, they will be open for. Yes, Claire.
for New Zealand, South Africa, if that's at 3:45 in the morning and I still want to go, but I'm not 21.
That's on the morning they will close down their alcohol service.
Okay, so I can,
I would call them and ask.
Yeah.
We're not promoting that. We're not promoting that. Prosecutor, federal prosecutor.
Yeah. So I don't know. I also think, I do think if you're going to go, if you're planning to go to a 3:45 a.m. match there, like, yeah, do give them a call and double check that they're actually going to be open for that.
If it's 3:45 on Friday, is that really like Thursday night?
I mean, I'm very tall.
Yeah, anyways, I don't know the answer to that for you. Yeah, so that's kind of the recruitment and retention-y things. And then we put some time in for Ref Up Q&A. So questions that people have from using it for a couple weeks? I did.
The question is, I'm a referee coach, Joe, if we do a referee coach report on the Reg Society website, what's this thing on Refs Up that wants a coach's report? How do you do it?
We'll talk about that.
Perfect segue into the next part of this. Other questions, or we'll just get into that.
Steve, also as a ref coach, when we look at games ahead, we can look 3 weeks or whatever it is ahead. We don't know who the referee is.
That's correct.
This is a potential problem. We could end up seeing the same person 3 weeks in a row.
Sure. I mean, there's nothing saying you need to sign up for it before the referees are assigned. So you could certainly wait for it and see who's assigned to it and then make your choices. But yeah, you're absolutely right that if you sign up before the referees are assigned, then you don't know who you'll be seeing.
Could you have a look at that?
Oh, what would you like me to do?
But work out how it would be more equitable to see the referees, and we want to plan our weeks ahead just as the referees do.
When are the assignments typically getting made?
10 days ahead of time.
So it's hands off to you, right? It's just an algorithm.
Correct.
So 10 days.
When the appointments are made, does it go on the society page?
It does.
So we go to the society page, find out who the ref is, then go over to the refs.
Yes. Correct.
Can they see on Ref Up, once the assignment's made, as a coach, can they see who the ref is on Ref Up?
When they are assigned,
Once they're
yes.
assigned. So you
10
can,
days.
so you can see it,
Who's assigned?
When the referee coach is
You
assigned.
have to go to
Oh,
the
but not the
RMRR website.
referee.
That's correct.
The question is, AR, do we fill out a report? But
Yep, you should see an officials report. Let's see, we won't see it in there. But yeah, you should see a place for an RMRR's official report, and you can click on that and put in your mileage and any comments on the match.
so I had a match afterwards, so my knowledge from that, so I would just use that link. AR match.
Correct. You shouldn't put mileage on both, but you should fill out both. Or you should just like basically open it up and hit submit. Yep.
And what if the referee begged you to be in that AR? You got out the game and there was one AR and the referee won second, but not signed.
Send an email to Dan. Yeah. Yeah.
We still want to compensate you guys for doing that. We still want to encourage you guys to do that. It's now, before when we were signing stuff and maybe we didn't assign ARs, and you can look at the schedule and you wanted to go to run in, but now you can actually go do that. So, but if that does happen, Joe, like the one-off, we definitely want to pay you for that. You do work, you come.
And then back to the, coaching thing and the question earlier, it begs an interesting question. Is it, as a coach, are you selecting your appointments based on the referee you want to coach, or are you selecting it based on the teams or the venue, time of day, et cetera? So, that obviously the system's geared towards the same way the referee would select an assignment, the teams, the time of day, the venue, you know, location, stuff like that. I got it on mine. I'll mute it when I'm done. And then, but that might not be the best way of thinking about it, right? So if that's a concern, then that's something to be brought up, and we can discuss it and try to figure out, you know, ultimately the best solution. So, you know, Steve's answering the question very matter of fact. This is true. This is the way it is set up right now. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to stay that way, right? So keep that in mind with everything. Don't be shy about your feedback. The best way we can grow and make the system functional is if we share and suggest.
There was some discussion about being able to group assignments together. Is that capability now available?
Sure. So if say you wanted to do 2 things in one day, so normally if we were to say this type of setup here, you would get one of these assignments for you that day. But if you wanted to do both because you're a really, I don't know, talented referee and can be in 2 places at once here, yeah, you can click this blue group button and it will give you an option for all of the other assignments that you have made that day, and you can group them together. So now you will get both of these assigned to you for that particular day. And then you can ungroup them again by clicking on that button. So if you
bid on both?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's if you win, then you get both instead of getting one.
You have to win on both?
Yep, correct. Donnie.
So I know 10 days, so I have to make at least my bid at 11 days to be eligible to get a match. Is there anything that's an advantage of bidding earlier or later?
No, there is not. The advantage is in the boosts here. So earlier or later doesn't impact it. And yeah, so it'll start trying to make assignments at 10 days. There's certainly been plenty of times where that hasn't panned out and assignments are being made a lot closer to the match day.
And then I'm just on the topic of boosts. So yeah, everyone gets 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, is it like Bitcoin? Are you mining boosts? So that every month and a half, there's another 0.75 of a boost goes into your account, or is it just simply there's a fixed amount of currency within the closed system?
Yeah.
And the same dollars are passing around.
Exactly. So
Because the other way would be more fun.
if you could find them.
You'd have to rent a power plant in Iceland.
We'd have to have an exchange. Yeah. That's, I mean, Brian asked for feedback, and so I think that's, you know, interesting feedback about mining some boosts.
But you say if you're unsuccessful, right, you get half of the difference from the guy who won.
Right. So
it's a closed system. So essentially, like your central bank, you can't lower interest rates or
I can't print money.
In a recession, you can't like feed the system.
I mean, I can, but it's not designed to do that. Yes, correct. Rick.
How are you on like buy-in with all the different clubs? I mean, is it pretty much everybody's doing this now, or are we still waiting on certain clubs to pop up like this week?
Well, this week's fairly easy because of Aspen, but I think that's been the biggest challenge from my perspective, has been getting clubs to sign up. And so what we saw was clubs were signing up really late in the week, and then it was a challenge to get those assignments filled. Now that the majority of clubs have signed up, you know, we have many matches in here going out through the rest of the season. So that's good. We are still waiting, like the Barbos and the Highlanders are 2 teams that have not signed up and have matches on the 28th, so the weekend following Aspen. So those are 2 specific ones that we're working on. Correct. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think I think there's been a few clubs that have actually pushed back, like, oh, we don't want to do this. We don't think this is the right thing. I think most of it's been like kind of what we expect out of rugby clubs. Like they're a little disorganized. They're a little slow to do things like this.
So if,
Cool.
if they don't sign up, we don't cover.
Correct. Okay. You want to talk about coaching?
I did. I wanted to bring up one of our newer guests to also talk a little bit about referee development and coaching with an announcement. Do you want to make that?
Oh. You can tell them what it is.
Well, this is your
The contract got signed.
Okay, so USA Rugby and Advantage Referee Review System have made a deal to provide to all 30 LROs premier Advantage Referee Review System. That being said, so now when we go into, sorry about that. So now this will be available to us, which is the premier.advantagereferee.com. right here, and this is a little bit different than the older USA Advantage we were using. It'll be available to all of who sign up and register, and basically in the newer Advantage you can kind of put your IPP in here, your focus areas, and your fitness tests, whatnot. And like I said, we've kind of gone through this. Some of you may not know what to do with Advantage and whatnot, but we are in the process of this is being rolled out to every LRO. Steve and myself and Zap have created a coaching report based off kind of like the goals and match levels that we were creating. And now that this is up there, I have to determine which pathway we want to go. So in the meantime, this is usually like a video review system. We're not going to go over it tonight, but we can kind of set up a Zoom meeting to go over it if you want to at a later date. But we did have something like this before. Some of you had some success with it. Some of you put some videos in. Some of you haven't done anything. The good part about this is this can be used for video or non-video review, and it still has the same kind of competencies and whatnot. The report we created. I don't know where to find it.
Yeah, it's taking me a second to.
The theory that sorry, go ahead. The theory that I wanted to do was kind of to limit the competencies you're working on as a level 8. So level 8, you should be working on these competencies. Level 7, you should be working on these competencies instead of you just picking from all 40. Because as a level 8 referee, should be working on strategic refereeing right now or management. They should be working on scrum setup, lineout setup, space at set pieces. So that was kind of the goal. So now with this new announcement that I just found out 2 hours ago, I kind of have to figure out a new path. As of right now, until that path is rolled out for all my coaches, we're still going in older IRFU referee coach, IRFU ref coach, that level 1 that you guys all been doing. And until basically you guys all get an email from me saying this is the process, we'll explain what it is now. But so I can show this.
Yeah. So have you can't pick goals.
Okay, because I know so. Ideally, you would go in here, and the function of this is as I'm the referee and Jim Russell's a reviewer, I want Jim to be able to see my goals instead of just showing up 30 minutes before my game and go, what are you working on, Mark? So pre-match, I want you to go in there and pick your goals. Again, your goals are selected out of the 8 competencies or 6 competencies that we're kind of letting you work on as a level 8 referee, level 4 referee, whatnot, and just kind of shaping your game around those goals. You'll go in there and put your triggers and some measurables of how to achieve those goals, and then Jim can come back over the top when he's done and say, yes, you were successful in that, or no, you were not. Try working on this. If you were successful on that, ideally, that would give you, I'm working on scrum setup and space, and I've achieved those goals. Jim would give me an above level grade that maybe 2 points. At that, you get X amount of points in a season, and that would signal me that maybe we need to look at you promoting into level 7. So it's kind of like more linear and more transparent for you guys to know what you need to do of how to get from 7 to 8, sorry, 8 to 7 and down the line. That's the kind of thinking in that. I think Steve has done it successfully. No, with Joe. And I don't know the feedback on that. Joe, you have any feedback on that? There it is. Okay. So again, it's not a perfect system. I know maybe referees are going to pick. I really want to work on management. That's an interesting thing. What I'm trying to do is create a transparent development pathway to get you from 8 to 7, because we really haven't had that before. And again, I just kind of talked to this with Jamie a little bit, and I'll be working hopefully with him to kind of maybe fine tune everything for everyone, right? There's no perfect system, but from my past experience, this is something I would really like to try, and it's a little bit more transparent. Has anyone been promoted recently, like to C2, and do you know why you were? That's the issues we have. Like I remember when Bill Cassidy got promoted to C2, I asked him, why were you? And he's like, I have no idea. And I want to take that away and be like, yeah. So if Ryan comes up to me and is like, why I want to get level 6 games, we're like, Ryan, in your last couple of reports, we see that you're struggling with line out to mall transition or whatever. And then be like, okay, I'm gonna go work on that. Maybe 3-4 games later, we can choose those competencies. Let's give them a pathway to level 6.
This is going to be instead of what's on the society page.
Well, that's something I'm now faced with a new problem. But yes, in theory, this is, yes.
Because what I sent Steve today is I did the society page. Coaching report.
Yes.
Then I go over here and I copied it, tried to paste it in. Pasted, but then it wouldn't let me submit because ref had put his goals. And
Yeah. So yeah, what will happen is what path we choose, I will create some online learning and do a meeting and a Zoom, and I kind of teach it how you do it and send it out. We won't have to wait for the October meeting or December meeting or whatever. I'll create an online learning and say, this is a new SOP. This is how we do it. And email me with any questions. And maybe we can host a Zoom where you can all dial in on a Tuesday night or something, and we can kind of go through it. Right? So again, we are an EC that's kind of thinking outside the box and trying to change some things, and that thing, like this is a pretty good system based on kind of my past history.
And the timing on this in coming weeks or months?
Yeah, again, I just got presented with a problem 2 hours ago. I don't have that answer. Hopefully sooner than later. That's all I can say.
For the new system, you said it's video or non-video.
Well, yeah, you can go in there and create you can go put your IPP in there. You can go so I'm going to go referee Boulder versus Highlanders. I can go in there myself and go put my game plan in there and go back in there and do a self-review, even without video. And then you can come over the top 2 and say, I was at your game. I'm going to go just like you would an advantage report, just without video. Like I don't go in and tag it. I don't go in, there's no stats or anything, but there is a place for your game plan. It's really kind of the same thing. And I could say that, context, I did this well at context. I could do this well at balance, and this way at management. You can come back, well, I thought your advantage was, it's kind of the same thing, just without video. Okay. All right. So with that, we'll transition to our educational piece tonight.
While he's doing that, Brian, you mentioned, or Steve mentioned, that we had a clinic Collins and 11 people. Would it be beneficial for us to reach out, follow up, have a meeting there? 11 people, I don't know if any of them are night, but if we reach out and had a law session or a practical session, a couple of weeks or 3 weeks after one of those things.
Yes, good question.
Because we're going to do one in the springs, get another 11.
I mean, it's one of the reasons we have invested in Zoom and to be a part of our communications platform. So hopefully people far and wide are on tonight listening to us. it's, you know, in a great respect, it's pretty convenient. They can simultaneously see this presentation, hopefully hear you a little bit through my phone, and see you for a bit. It's not perfect, but it also is recorded so they can watch it later. So that's a start. And I know Gore has a system for following up with new recruits as well. Familiar on what happens immediately after a L1 and what the exact follow-up is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Like, we haven't had a L1 course that like we put on outside of Denver in a very long time. So yeah, maybe that is a good idea to try to get back up there. I don't know. I think it's a good thing to think about. Like, again, we kind of have like electronic ways of emailing and texting people to try to get them involved. But yeah, maybe going back up there and doing something in person, you know, especially if there was like maybe some sort of, if there was a big match, you know, if there's a CSU BYU game or something that we could tag that onto, maybe, yeah, maybe that's a good thing to explore.
Some tournament or something if they get.
It's all right. Let's see what the chat is.
Let me know if I can help with that. Cheyenne.
Okay, so tonight's topic is kind of lineouts, and mostly we're going to focus on really just kind of setup and formation and just some quick things. This is a pretty lengthy presentation, so again, it will be made available to you. Pretty simple, but if you have any questions with it, whatnot, feel free to email me those after the fact, just to kind of avoid us missing the second half of the Jets game for Jamie. We're going to go kind of bang through this, right? So, right, for the line out, our main goal as a referee is just to provide a safe and stable platform for players to compete for the ball, right? We want to, this is a kind of a tricky area. We want to know the law. Be prepared to manage the line out, which is reset it, kind of create the structures for them, right? Use rugby language and find balance in the law. So basically, the position we want to set the line out up for success. You have a good structure there. Everyone's in their place. You kind of get to your spot. Everyone's there. Be in position to catch that infringement and a good setup. Right? Usually when we're attacking kind of 70 meters away, we want to kind of be at the back of the lineup, but on the other side, it gives you a more advantageous spot to kind of get to any spot where that lineup could go. You know, crash ball off the top through the backs, that kind of that back spot gives you a spot to kind of get to those shortest distance. We're doing it again. All right. Yeah. So usually when you're sending a line out, right, the defensive team's normally there first, and then the attacking team comes in. But if there's just not enough gap, just give a quick whistle and just get the space you want. Create the structures for them. Don't allow the players to just kind of take up that space. When there is no gap, it puts a tremendous pressure on the attack. And you get kind of muddled ball and not really a good platform to launch. This is something that we really gives the attacking team an advantage when they walk right up and jump. So kind of get there, make the mark, make sure everyone's in their place, and don't just allow the players to kind of willy-nilly amble about. Like, make sure they're there, their forms. The defensive team's usually there first. You know, don't allow these guys to sit here and linger and not get in there. Like, get them in the line out, get them paused, and then let them do their set piece right there. Is everyone clear on that? Everyone's kind of walking up now and just jumping, because that gives me an advantage to like kind of know where it's going right now, and it really puts the defense at a disadvantage because we're saying like going, where are we going, right? So get them there, have them walk in, have them be set, then they can jump, and don't let them huddle within 10 meters of the law, within 10 meters of line up. Sorry.
Will Mark's checking on that.
Should be now.
What's a good way that you can, solve this problem? Anybody, maybe some other folks in Devon, you can chime in. If the team just walking up to the line and then immediately taking the line out as opposed to setting the line out, is there any suggestions you guys have as far as?
Also, I would say when I'm ready. And if there's people aren't in the line out, I say gently form the line out first, and don't let the hooker throw until I'm happy that they're both set.
Yeah, so great suggestion. For those who didn't hear, manage it first. If they're trying to rush it, line out's one of those opportunities where it's a set piece, and it should start. Yes, you don't want to hold up the game, but it should start on your terms. So they're rushing it and they're not quite set up, or the gas not right or whatever, hold the throw and say, no, not till I'm ready. It's a good way to put it. But also if they're loitering and then coming in, and talk to them, tell them, I need you set before the ball's thrown, right? And then the next time you can get free kick them. You're not listening.
One of the things I do is I just ask them in the pregame. The front rows, I ask them if they're going to walk in. If they say yes, I would say, well, be sure you come to a stop.
Yep. So again, they must be set before jumping. Usually the defensive's there first. These guys are just kind of meandering about. Right, just ask them to get in. How many numbers you get the numbers sorted out right. That's fine. Now they have to be set. So he's just getting the numbers right. Yeah, and then they go back and do it again. Get them in the lineup. Get them up there. Use your whistle. Get them in there. Right?
Okay, good.
So that, yeah. So what defines being set? Well, what defines release? Right? A clear, they have to give us a picture of being set. They have to give us a picture of releasing the ball. If we need a replay to see if they were set, they weren't set. Right? Again, manage it, especially like the lower leagues. Manage it. Have them do it. When they continue to be knuckleheads, then you can escalate.
Coach is going to pull this. I guarantee
That's
you
fine.
that's coached.
Yeah, I know they will.
Watched on television.
This is my home field, North Carolina.
There you go.
That's Charlotte?
Yeah.
Again, make sure the numbers are right. Don't just allow this to continue. This is a place to create structure. I know we all want to get the game on, whatnot, but this is, again, we are here to facilitate, right? And it wasn't straight anyway. Like, they have to be given an opportunity to match. This is all kind of like.
It's interesting seeing that. I go back home in the UK, I don't see the quick line outs much. People seem to take their time.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off because if you look at the tens, you can see that both
Yeah.
back 10, which stops what happened there.
Yeah.
So in fact, when I was refereeing yesterday, that's the first time I encountered a quick line out.
Yeah. A line out taken quickly.
Taken quickly,
Yeah.
not a quick one from
Yeah. So there's a quick throw. We all know what that is, right? We're putting it in that. And then there's also like a line out taken quickly, which is like there's 2 and 2, and we're going to go. That's their right because we have that.
Yeah.
Right?
Certainly, if the ball's being fielded,
Yeah.
before, then you can go on. The defending team's got a right to wait until they're.
Yep.
Take it slowly.
Yeah. They have to be given the opportunity to match.
Yeah.
Which is fine because maybe you don't eat that free kick and say, well, look, if you're not going to give them the opportunity to match, I'm not going to free kick them for numbers, and you just manage it that way because they'll be like, oh, no numbers, sir, and you're like, yeah, we don't play the game for penalties. We try and talk people out of them.
Question. So, Mark, if you had a situation like this where one team has
too many numbers in the line out, and then the other team throws the ball in not straight, what would you do in that situation? Or maybe a better question for like a group, like what types of things would you consider there?
Does anyone have an answer? What would they do?
I would just do the whole thing, make sure they got their numbers
Yep.
right. Slow it down.
Yep. Same thing.
And even take the time to make sure they're,
Yeah.
you know, they're all back 10 where they're supposed to be. And just
Yeah.
make it take breath.
Again.
Yeah, on the other hand, you, by slowing it down that far, you're taking advantage away from the throwing team who wants to up tempo. Hold it, we don't have to match.
Yeah.
I think.
No, so as far as not straight, those on mismatch numbers. Viewers, you know, chicken and egg sort of thing.
Yeah.
Legitimately, you could probably blow it up and just say, hey, look, you guys hit around. That's one thing I will do. It's like, you know, you got guys with loiter inside 10. It's like, are you in? Are you out?
Yeah.
In this situation here, when you had 2 or 3 people where you could have easily blown it up and said, hey, I don't know if they're in line out or not. They don't know if they're in line out or
Yeah. Joe, real quick.
I know in the old school logbook, there was a line in there that said, any players from the throwing team that are in the box advancing towards the line of touch are assumed to be joining that. I don't know if that's still there.
Yeah.
You?
I don't.
Okay, but which means that in that previous example, you had a guy at front, a guy at back, and 3 guys lined up. They gave the non-throwing team plenty of time to figure out the numbers.
Yeah, like I get that. I think for our local leagues right now, this is a really place to affect change and create structure for the teams. Like we just don't want just chaos out there. Scrum setup and lineouts are 2 places where you can really just, this time is yours. Let's get it set up. I get the teams want to attack early, and that's fine. I don't want to take that away from them, but let's have them do it per law and have them set up, right? We're not just there to kind of like, I hope it goes well. We're there to kind of create safety and structures for these players. Then through the laws, they can showcase their talents. I'm never going to chastise you like, John, this is the 80th reset, you know, let's, you know, hopefully it doesn't come to that. But again, early in the game, manage it. If they consistently do not listen, then stupid should hurt. So again, make sure that, again, this is like the very first thing. You set your mark. The next thing you should be looking at is making sure a hooker's in the channel. Right? Get them there 2 meters away, 2 meters back. Right? Here's a thing where the receiver is standing way too close. He needs to be 2 meters away from his mates. Right? And yeah. Okay. Sorry. This guy right here is too close. You need to start 2 meters away. He's the receiver. Yep. Right. Now, the receiver can't be out here either. He can't be 4 meters away. So the law says he has to be 2 meters. 2 meters away from his fellow players. So they can't really stand anywhere. They can stand anywhere between 5 and 15 along a 2 meter line from his teammates. Okay? Set the structures up. Right? The receiver can't enter prior to the throw. But they can switch. They can enter one and drop one. Or if the receiver does want to enter, he has to enter after the throw. So they can switch positions. Number 2 jumper can come out, receiver can go in prior to the throw, but he can't run in prior to the throw and not drop one.
This is a great example also. Replay it. The referee tries to set a bigger do you think the players are really compliant with that or not? You know, like, you know, open up, and one guy just kind of like stood there and just did this, and didn't even move. That front guy maybe moved out a tiny bit. Like, that's not compliance. So one of the worst things a referee can do to themselves is say, open the gap, and have nobody respond, and then still let that line out commence, right? If you're going to interject in the line out, which in this case I recommend you do, make sure you get compliance, enforce that. Because if you lose credibility when the ball's not in play, where is it? How are you going to regain it when the ball is in play and you actually need it? You know, this is the simplest time. The ball's not going anywhere. You know, hold the ball, everybody step out, right? Now we got compliance. Okay, thank you. You know, you don't have to be a jerk about it, but it makes a huge difference. And I see, you know, even at Rugby Town 7, you know, open booth. Just sit into it. Yeah, like that's not good enough. Then it's a great time to enforce compliance.
So that last clip, the referee moved green the throwing team. If when I was playing and I was on the non-throwing team, I wanted to close that. I wanted to step on somebody's feet, the jumper in particular. So this was a long time ago. So why is he moving the throwing team out as opposed to the non-throwing?
They were standing on the mark.
Yeah, I think
You have to be half a meter away from the line of touch.
I think it was probably the easiest target in this particular case because it looked like the opponents were pretty square and straight.
So
Green was still setting theirs. That's my guess. But
what you're saying is,
I would agree with you in general.
Later in the game, the target is the non-throwing team. You just confused people. I mean, one or the other. I'm sorry, but one or the other.
I mean,
consistency.
Who's not in compliance? That's the question. So that's the official answer. I agree with you for the most part. You kind of set your mark and you focus on the defense giving the appropriate space because they're most likely the offenders. However, I've made the offense give themselves more space before. It's not completely out of the question. So, you know, and I'll say, like, hey, it's your space. Like, give yourself more.
I've taken a technique from Mr. Board over here where I set the defense and tell the offense. That way, because the offense is to their advantage now. The defense will set the defense, and as long as they're not encroaching in on where they're set the offense at an appropriate, like the offense set themselves, but at an appropriate cap.
Right. Yeah, and normally that would work. There's times when they don't help themselves, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend carrying on with a less than desired gap just because they don't know, or, you know, it's only going to do a disservice to the platform in which you restart play. I think everybody's philosophy going into a line out is a clean and safe platform to restart play, right? And so don't sacrifice the easy steps to do that by rushing the throw and trying to, like, you know, get in the players' heads. You know, this is a great gap right here. Is it more than a meter? Yeah, but that's awesome. You start with that because they're going to step in a little bit and stuff. But do yourself as much of a favor, do them as much of a favor as you can to just restart with some really clean structure.
Thank you, Brian.
Structure begets structure, begets structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't have two receivers. Yeah. And the green receiver's too close. Hooker comes in before the lineout's over. Right? This is just structured.
Okay.
So there's an egregious early lift and there's this sneaky early lift. Technically, this isn't allowed because that's a fake. Yep. So again, manage that, and then if they continue to do it, free kick it. If they continue to do it after that, Steve? Oh, don't escalate the penalty? Just free kicks all day. Yeah. Again, the ball goes back, the ball goes in. Okay, so what would you do here, Emily? What would you do if you're the referee in this situation? Right? Because there's no gap, the referee says, no, get it in. Hooker's sitting there, look, I need a gap. So she doesn't throw it in straight, but then the blue team goes up early. It's just a big mess, right? Just create structures. Joe, we have a couple more slides, so we're just going to kind of through these. Yeah. Yeah. So like just sit there, create structures. Use your whistle, create space. Yeah. Yeah. Ideally, we want the referee going to the front of the line out every time to set that gap. And then if you want to take up position in the background, happy days. But have that presence every line out. Okay, so there's something that's kind of maybe new to you guys. If we are having players change places, which they have to do, they must do so from outside the line out. They cannot go into the gap to change places. This is closing the gap down. This is closing the mark. We're closing down the gap, taking away space. All right. If they want to do that, they have to go outside around it.
So you're saying, in this case, if white is going to interchange with another position there, they can't go in the gap to do so. They have to go.
Yep, they have to go around. They cannot come into the gap. This is probably something that we need to probably maybe escalate into a penalty. We cannot have people taking out that space with that body. That's depending on the league. I would rather maybe get rid of that behavior rather than I would manage it, because it's potential. It's a flashpoint.
Second.
20 to 32.
Walk right in.
Beware of space, right? If the line out is caught and brought down, just the timing has to be absolutely correct. So don't mind these guys walking in. Yeah. The three's early, goes through, smashes them. Right? Again, leaving the line out early. Blue 6 has a little bit of head of steam there. I'm gonna go smash the 10. Yep, right here, this guy. Yeah, number black 4 jumping into the player. Right. You also will play this clip again. This is what attacking teams will do: is they'll if you don't get the defensive team with enough space, the attacking team will just move over and have them create his own space and move off the mark. And ultimately, the AR just kind of goes, well, screw it, I'll go with you because it's easier to move me than the 15 players. Don't let the defending team take away that space. This is something that we could probably free kick earlier and often than manage, as again, league dependent. See how he's like, the white team stepping in a little bit. Well, screw that. I'm going to take my own space. And everyone just shifts over. The game is meant to be played with space. So let's, when they're players are purposely taking away space. Let's maybe raise that sanction a little higher. Yeah, again, this is probably not something we're going to manage. This is foul play. We need to get it out of the game. Right? They have to get the ball and the ball only. If they get their jersey, their hand, or whatever, get it out. This is for your ARs. Get it in quickly. Blue 10 pulling down the jumper. Or not blue 10, it'd be blue 6 pulling down the jumper. Yeah. Surprised it wasn't 8.
And sanction that follow the same things as like
that's foul play.
getting the air
Yeah.
or to where landing
Yeah.
on your back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's same as it's a contest in the air, right? They're both going up in the air. It's the same thing. He lands on his lower back and hip, probably a yellow card. There is obviously egregious foul play and pulling down. So, but if it is upper neck and head, that constitutes a red card. Again, also, if you pick a player up, you have to return him to the ground. This is a flashpoint too. Even you're like, well, he didn't hurt the other team. Right, if you pick someone up, you're gonna play him down. We kind of saw Italy do this a little bit, but you can't just hold your ball carrier up there to hold it to prevent the contest. So if they pick them up and hold them, they catch it, they have to put them down.
What is the sanction for that? I mean, it's your own player. You're not hurting the other team.
Penalty kick. It's foul play. Maybe it's a free kick. Actually, it's a free kick now, isn't it? It's a free kick. Yeah, you're not hurting your opponent, but you're player welfare issue, right? Right. So this is again free kick. You can't. We want to see that again.
He was asking the previous slide.
Yeah.
Just when they drop the guy.
Like put him down.
That's a free kick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was holding him back. He was just holding the defensive team back. This was unsanctioned. So here we have the lifters, right? They're coming down and they'll pull this guy back, and then these guys will close the gap. And these guys here have to be able to get to the ball carrier. Right? Know the law and allow quick throw-ins unless it's clearly off. ARs, be vigilant. Watch the ball, see what happens to it. We do want them allowed to restart the game when they can. Don't be so technical that you threw it a foot in front of the mark. Let's just get on with it. No one liked that AR. Oh, he's technically a foot in front of the mark. That was good enough. Like, that's good. That's fine. Does everyone understand what I mean?
So I was thinking of this morning. I was actually just reading this afternoon at work.
Let's hope your boss doesn't listen. Yes.
Okay. So you just got to go 5 meters and backwards and run and pick it up.
Yeah. It can't go. It has to travel 5 meters and can't go forward.
Right. That's what I mean. Back towards his goal.
Well, it can go lateral. It can't go forward. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And that took.
Yeah.
Well done, Mark.
Great. With that, the meeting is officially.
No, Eric.
Oh, okay. I think that's post meeting.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
So, so the meeting is officially adjourned. And I do recommend for most people to consider sticking around. The match administrative training is something that Rocky Mountain Rugby, our union, is doing to really help alleviate some of the workload on referees. It's one of those things where
we, as referees, we have a lot of things to deal with. You know, it's like checking rosters and making sure field setup's proper, and making sure that there's technical zones are correctly installed. And if any of those things pre-match are wrong, we're already refereeing before we're refereeing, right? And one of the things with connecting with the union is, well, what if we pass that buck, right? And that's one of the ideas behind the match admin. To just take that burden off the referee. Now your pregame can hopefully focus on chatting with the front row, warming up properly, you know, chatting with your team of three or whatever if you have one. So I think it's a great option for us, and thanks for making yourself available to have this training. So
Something else, if you don't want to do it all, at least it might be nice to be familiar with what I'm asking other people to do. So they don't run into on the day.
right. So let's see. Otherwise, for others, we'll be at the bar afterwards. Which one? Bowl and Bush, I think. I'll let these guys set up if you guys want to. We're going to officially end our Zoom chat. Thanks for attending, everybody. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, let's go ahead and close us.
So you could just do this.
It's a combo of I don't like things living on the internet forever, and I swear a lot. So.